What is going on? Welcome to the first ever VIP live stream by TradingView. It's nice to have everybody here. Let's see, we got Ribsy. He's here. Charles, Adrian, is it Joao? Hope I'm saying that right. Elysium, and I think that's it. Let's get started. So first of all, I'm gonna kind of talk you guys through what I was saying in chat yesterday about kind of the range that we've been in, and kind of something like what I'm looking for as far as Bitcoin goes. I mean, I think I did a pretty good job talking about it in the video. I'm not sure if all of you were able to watch the VIP update that I did and posted on YouTube last night. But it's very much, I mean, we literally, I mean, we haven't done a whole lot since that happened. So it's really the same. I guess I'll leave. No, I'll take this off. So this is the range that we're in, right? And it's really as simple as, you know, you're looking for longs towards the bottom area of the range. You're looking for shorts, or you're looking to take profit off your longs at the top of the range. It's honestly as easy as that. I think people really make trading ranges a lot more difficult than they need to be. And, you know, I will say, like, the middle part of the range is definitely like I would say like a low IQ trading zone, but it's really like, this is especially like people who are putting on positions here, unless you're very knowledgeable about specific levels that exist within the middle of the range. It's just a lower, you know, it's like a lower probability type trading environment when you're trying to trade, you know, literally the middle of the range. Like, you want to be kind of closer to the top, closer to the bottom. Gives you you know, it makes it easier for you to understand where your trade idea is likely wrong, right? You have to risk less in order to find out if you're wrong for the most part. But we've been in this range since May 19th. So this is the candle that, you know, effectively created this sideways price action that we've seen. And a lot of the times, you know, like when we're in a range like this, things are naturally going to slow down. Now, from top to bottom, and I'm not using extremes. I mean, you could use the extremes, but just like this range here, that's a pretty decent size range though. I mean, 35% is nothing to joke about, you know, like that is a very big range. But naturally, like, the movements throughout it are going to be, you know, I guess more muted, you could say, for the most part, unless you're getting price action like this. You know, when you get just constant moves to the downside, it's kind of this choppiness that's really like felt like things slowed down quite a bit. But when you get moves like this, it still kind of gives you, you know, decent trades to be had for sure. And your bots, you know, probably did decently on this spike back up. But, you know, if you look at, you know, since June 24th, things have really started to tighten. You know, things are getting really condensed, and, you know, we're kind of waiting for, you know, I mean, we came up and touched the middle of the range here, got rejected so far. But if you look at structure, you know, this is a 12-hour time frame. If you look at just this structure, it's actually, you know, you have some bullish market structure here. So you have your low, your higher low, and your higher high. Now you got rejected right off the top of the middle of the range. But like this low that we put in here could very well be another higher low. And maybe we're on our way up to come, you know, to make this higher high. So one thing that you saw that was up was actually Ichimoku, right? So you have, you know, I guess I'll leave these levels up, and I want to try to be super confusing at the moment. Very quickly, before I continue, can everybody hear me? If you could just type in chat that you hear me. I think you guys are like 8 seconds behind me, but can somebody just confirm that you're actually listening to me speak? So I'm going to wait just a second just to make sure. Okay, good. Perfect. All right. Let me look at something really quickly. Just give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. But anyway, like looking at Ichimoku here, this is kind of what I am looking. This is kind of what I am looking to have happen. I'm not looking to have happen, but we are coming up to the bottom of the cloud here. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. And, you know, currently, if you watch the Ichimoku video, right, your Chiku span is below price, you're bearishly crossed, the cloud's bearish. I mean, everything about this for the most part is bearish. But what I do like is you can see that price came right up to the bottom of the 12-hour cloud. You didn't get any closures inside, got some wicks above, but it's been really, you know, a 12-hour chart. Again, I think I've said this in the Ichimoku video, but I really, really like trading the 12-hour. So kind of like what I'm looking for, right? If you look at your Tenkan, your Kijun, they're relatively flat. I'm looking for a break into the cloud to kind of give me a change of behavior, right? Kind of maybe initially signaling that we are ready to test this upper end of the range. So this is an example of using other indicators in your trading arsenal to kind of give you a potential heads up that a move is likely to occur, if that makes sense. So this is why, you know, from a trend perspective, Ichimoku is unbeatable, and like I love it. I think it's really, you know, it makes it quite simple to follow along as far as that goes. But when you're trading inside of this range, right, that we've been in for a month and a half, so far this 12-hour chart has done a nice job. So like this is, again, another area of confluence telling you that this zone, right, so you're coming up near the top of your range, right? You have this red box that's essentially been really difficult. You know, this is a really difficult resistance zone. And then you also have your cloud giving you that additional confluence and saying, hey, like there's going to be quite a bit of resistance here at this point. Now we're back, you know, kind of, I'd say the bottom third of the range. The Ichimoku could give you an early indication to be careful fading this next move, if that makes sense. So this could give you heads up if we are able to see, and I'll just tell you right now what I will be looking for. I will be looking for a 12-hour close inside of the cloud. And you can see that we're even if we go sideways, we're going to kind of run into this cloud in a week or so. Regardless, if we could kind of just continue sideways, we're going to kind of bump into this cloud here in a week or so, no matter what happens, unless price just drops out of the bottom of the range, which is possible. But I'm looking for a 12-hour close inside of the cloud. I'm looking for this Tenkan here to bullishly cross your Kijun. And then I'm looking for this purple, the Chiku span, to be above price. So if that criteria is met, I would be looking for a move towards the opposite edge of the cloud. So it's called an edge-to-edge trade. I'm going to have an entire video just dedicated to this trade setup. It's a trade setup that I've traded hundreds and hundreds of times before. I really like it. It's not perfect. It doesn't always work, but as far as, you know, from my trading statistics, this is one of those types of trades that I really like to take when it presents itself. So if I do get that, now this is looking ahead, right? This is planning ahead. This is just kind of getting ready in case like the trade setup presents itself, confirms all that stuff. Again, the target would be the opposite edge of the cloud. So if that's the case, you know, does it mean that we just slice through here? No. You know, I still think like this could put up a fight, you know, if we do come up and test the upper end of this range. But seeing price move inside of the cloud, if that trade setup confirms, it would make me a lot more hesitant to short this region, if that makes sense. So like, because Ichimoku is giving you an possible like early indication that we could be moving all the way up to, you know, $44,000, which your target, by the way, when you're looking at that particular trade setup in general, which I will run it by you one more time, you're looking for a closure inside a cloud. So this doesn't matter what time frame you're trading, right? I think edge-to-edge trades work better on higher time frames for sure. As far as lower time frames, it's definitely like the hit miss ratio. It's not as good. But on higher time frames, 12 hour and above, you know, what you're looking for is a closure inside a cloud. You're looking for a bullish TK cross, or, you know, I guess I don't want to confuse you guys, because there, you know, there's also, it works the same way bearishly as well. But since like I don't want to confuse you, we'll go over that later on. But again, you're looking for a closure inside a cloud, and it has to be candle close. You're not waiting, you know, you don't want to prematurely take the trade, because it's just like this. In instances like this, right? Where you get the candle looks like it's in cloud. So if you went long here, what would have happened to you, right? You would have been you would have been stopped out of your trade. So you're waiting for confirmation that the candle is actually accepted inside of the Kumo, inside of the cloud. And then you're looking again, you need your bullish TK cross and you need Chiku span to be above price, which the purple line here, you can see this is where price is in relation to where the Chiku span is sitting. And it's sitting below where price is. So this is bearish. Okay. So those are kind of the heads up that I'm looking at. And so I'm going to turn this off really quick. Just go back to talking about this briefly. Again, as long as this range exists, right, I am looking to trade the range as it sits. Basically, you know, if I'm long here, I'm taking profit here. If I'm, you know, you come up here, you know, you could look for a short like you did here, but I'm assuming by the time, like if we do come up to, you know, come up this high, you're likely to have that edge to edge trade confirmed. So that would be like a conflicting signal telling me to be careful. I would be less likely, you know, to want to short this particular area. I still might, depending on how it looks in real time. You know, looking at things like open interest and whatnot, like to see like, is this move, you know, does it look like we're gonna reject here again, or are we gonna play out the full, you know, move to 44,000 and whatnot? So, but again, just trade the range as it sits. You know, and I'm gonna get into bots in a little bit because I know people are really naturally like really interested to see what's going on in the bot market. Again, though, once price fell into this range, and we've been in this range now for, you know, a month and a half, things are naturally going to slow down. So you know, I posted this in the not my the TradingView TA room, but in the other one that everybody can see, the entire Discord. I really made a point, and I hope everybody read it, to kind of warn people, because I see, and you know, I do look in the bot chat every now and then, and I see some questionable stuff that gets posted that people are really doing because they're getting impatient with how price action has been over the last month and a half. And I understand, you know, especially if people, you know, people are trying to maximize their return. You know, I hear all this talk about 1% a day, and you know, I gotta try to, you know, make as much money as I can. The thing is, this is this area being an area of consolidation, things are going to slow down. You're going to expect, you know, if you're using trading bots, you're going to expect for things to slow down. That's what's going to happen. But getting really aggressive, like, you can adjust your settings and you can try out new strategies, certainly, and you can get more aggressive in you know, a range environment because you're expecting price to stay within these parameters, right? So knowing that like price is likely to continue ranging here, now we're a month and a half in. This is a pretty mature range already. So I'm just going to get that out there. But I mean, earlier on, you know, like I've been talking about this range, I feel like forever now. Yeah, you could have, you know, you can turn up the, you know, you can get a bit more aggressive. You can get, you know, you can put, you know, more of your funds at risk, I guess you could say, because you're kind of expecting to stay within this price action. The problem is, you don't know which way this is going to break. And that's what you need to understand. If things break down, what's going to happen if you're like really over leveraged? You're trading, you know, you're trading a large amount of your capital. What's going to happen if we just break the structure? Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. First of all, Bitcoin's probably, you know, if we lose this range, it's probably going to be a pretty swift move to, I'd say, mid 20K. Now I'll go over that in a different stream, different high time frame analysis, because that deserves its own stream. But what's likely to happen to altcoins is probably going to be pretty brutal, I would say. And you have to be really careful, again, positioning yourself accordingly, because if you're really overextended here, and it's kind of the same thing for those of you who have been here longer than you know, before that May drop, right? So I mean, I'm sure like there's quite a few of you who are probably really familiar with the price action that happened right here, right? This could happen, you know, it might not be this severe, but you could get a really pretty nice move to the downside. And my only question for those people is, are you prepared? And are you prepared to manage your way out of a situation like that? So that's why, like, for me personally, when it comes to trading bots, I am still fully covered. So I'm not like, I don't have a bunch, you know, I don't have a bunch at risk. And honestly, like, it's, you know, I've said this before, like, I'm trying to manage my bots like I would in a normal situation, right? Like, the amount of capital that I have in my bots, it doesn't, you could fill every safety order I have right now. I'm not going to be that bothered by it. But considering, you know, we have a group, I want to try to make sure that I manage things appropriately, right? So for me, you know, I still feel like, even though we're in this range, now I have been running some different bot settings. I have been, you know, testing some more aggressive type settings out. But again, I'm perfectly comfortable accepting the risk. If we do end up breaking down here, I know how I'm going to trade this already. So like, I have a fairly good idea of how I'm going to look to trade this. And I will share that. And again, that's kind of like a different stream, because I feel like I don't want to run on too much about, you know, this particular area of where we're at with Bitcoin, because we're still in the range, right? But the message I have is, just be mindful of the fact that we've been in a range now for a month and a half. If we break down, things are going to get really ugly really quickly. If we break to the upside, it's not that you have a different problem, it's going to be a good thing, but do you have a plan on how you're going to trade here as well? So that's the only thing that I kind of want to ask everybody. So what did I want to cover? So I kind of talked about this. I did want to cover, is it this chart? Yeah, this chart. There we go. So I accidentally shared this. In the in Discord. I never trade 30-minute time frame, by the way. Like, it's not a thing that I trade 30-minute time frame. I was trying to find a chart that had like good resolution to show you the current little mini range that we've been in, and this ended up popping up. And I thought it was a really good example. of Ichimoku. So like, if you had seen the first video, I thought it was a really good example of how you would look to trade this. So for instance, you know, let me see if I want to be able to do this really quick. So by the way, there's a replay bar here for those of you who are, you know, if you want to like backtest your strategy, you want to practice your trading, there's a replay bar here on TradingView that allows you to pull price action back to whatever point you select. And then you can, you know, you can practice your strategy. You can think ahead as, you know, because there's obviously like a fair amount of price action that's happened since then. So I just kind of picked this point because we were still below cloud. You know, you're bearishly, you know, you're still bearish across the board. Chiku Span's below price. Tenkin's below Kijun, Cloud's very much bearish. So like, seeing how we could have gotten into this trade, right? Like, kind of like walking you through kind of what I see as this moves forward. So let me pick a speed here. I'll try this to start. That's a little bit quick. So you can see prices making its way up to cloud, right? Now you're in cloud. So I'm going to stop it here. So, well, that can't happen. But you're in cloud. You wouldn't necessarily, like, you wouldn't be longing here because you still have a bearish TK cross, right? So you see how that edge to edge type trade that I was discussing, and I will tell you really quickly, just because you get the edge to edge setup, it doesn't mean that you want to go long all the, like, you want to just jump in and because you're expecting price to because you're expecting price to go to the opposite edge of the cloud. It doesn't work like that. You still have to think of the risk reward, right? Because you have an invalidation level, which I will cover in here. But like, you have to make sure that the risk, the money that you're putting at risk, is worth what you're targeting, if that makes sense. So I honestly didn't look at that, but I just want to kind of talk to you about how this works. So again, we'll kind of let this play out a little bit. So price is in cloud, but you're still bearish. You're still bearish here, right? So here we go, still going, still below cloud. You can look at Chigu span, now it's above price. Okay, so watch your Chigu span here. So we were inside of price, now Chigu, or price is below here, Chigu span is now above price. So this is the only bullish signal that you're getting right now. So we're going to keep going, still bearish, still very much bearish. Speed it up a little bit. Okay, so now, okay, so if you're looking at this, now you are barely, just barely on this candle confirmation, you have a bullish TK cross. Okay, so if you hover your mouse underneath the candle that you're looking at right here, and you look up at these values, it's going to tell you where your Tenkin and where your Kijun are, right here. Now you have a bullish TK cross. There you go. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. So now you have essentially your edge to edge setup, right? You have a closure inside a cloud. Price is above, or Chigu span is above price. But if you look at where you're at, okay, so this is kind of like really getting ahead. If you entered right here on your confirmation, all right, and so this is your long position. If you entered right here right now, where you would put your stop loss for this particular trade example is below cloud. So you see you're risking about 1.5%. And by the way, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're leverage trading, believe me, it's like this stuff adds up, okay? So your stop loss would be below cloud. That's where you would be invalidated on this trade. And then your target is usually, you're looking for like a flat edge of the cloud. These are going to be when you're looking at edge to edge trades, typically the flat portions of the cloud, which I did discuss in the first Ichimoku video, they're like stronger support. They're stronger support or resistance levels, and they're kind of magnets for price action, right? So this would technically be your entry, but where would your target be? Maybe here, like best case. So are you willing to risk 1.5% to gain, just under 2%? Like your risk reward is not very good. It's almost a coin flip, right? So this isn't necessarily like, this isn't a trade where I would say, oh my goodness, like I'm going to jump in and take this, because like the risk reward is honestly pretty bad. Okay. But if price managed to make its way down and you could get a better entry, then you see how your risk reward gets better. So now, let's say that you're like, oh, if this drops to Tenkin, then maybe I'll start, maybe I'll place a buy order here or whatever. Because now you're risking less than 1%, to have price maybe, make its way up to 2.4%, something like that. So your risk reward is much better for this particular trade. So I'm going to delete this. So let's see what happens. So there you go. So you got your Tenkin test right here. Honestly, don't remember what happens. I mean, obviously I know it breaks out, but I don't remember exactly what happened. But so you could have entered there if you really wanted to get in that trade. There you go. So you see how down here, I'll tell you right now, and going back to this position, right? Like you don't need to try to catch like a perfect test of the Kijun. But let's say that you were wanting to long here. So if price exiting cloud is your invalidation, now you see you're only risking 0.5%. Or if you really wanted to try to get close, like you're literally, now your invalidation is so close to your entry that you can, and as far as your potential upside you're looking at, you see how this risk reward is so much better than the first one. And the funny thing about trading is that most retail traders, most new traders will take the first one. And they're okay with, you know, literally risking $1 to make $1. For me, that's terrible. I'd rather risk $1 to make $5. Like, that's a better risk reward trade for me, right? And obviously, like, there's a lot more that gets into risk management, which is going to have its own module. It's going to have its own dedicated module, because to me it's such a critical topic. But in general, the better risk reward that you have here, the better opportunities you're going to have to actually be a profitable trader. So now let's see what happens. So again, you're in this trade regardless of where you entered, right? You're still in this trade. Your invalidation is below cloud. So you can see Chiku span is above price. Now look what happens. Okay, right there. So, darn it. Right here, okay, I'm not going to back up. What happened if you zoom in? Now you got your 30-minute close above the cloud. Okay, so if you go to your values here, this is where your top of your cloud is, which was at 33,967. And this current candle closed, if you look up here, this current candle, or not current, but this candle closed at 33,974.50. So what does that mean? Well, you got your first close outside of cloud. So you have a bullish breakout now. And look what happens the very next candle, right? So this, if you didn't enter here, which some traders will tell you not to trade in cloud, I disagree. And it's, you know, if you have a specific, it's kind of like I just showed you with the risk reward aspect of it. I think people don't, I think it just comes down to risk management and being able to take like higher probability entries. But if you miss this entry, this is an entry as well, right? Now, yes, you missed this beginning part that kind of started this move, but regardless, this is still a valid entry when it comes to Ichimoku. You have a bullish breakout. Let's see what happens. And now you look at your cloud here, and now it's flipping, well, it's not bullish yet, but you can see how it's angled, right? And the cloud's very, very thin right here. You're close to a bullish Kumo twist. And now you can see how Tenkin and Kijun play out in real time, right? Like as this price action is happening, you can see the forecaster and how it's working. And you see this angle right here? So this angle right here. So this angle is what we want to see, really. This angulation is really good. It's bullish, right? The part that is a little, that you have to be mindful of, is price is really far away from here, from your Kijun and your Tenkin. So you have to be mindful that like you could see price either Tenkin needs to climb up, which it looks like it's certainly going to do, but your Kijun needs to be angled kind of aggressively upward as well, because you run the risk of mean reverting. Okay, so let's click play. Let's finish this out. Hopefully you guys are, you know, this might not make a lot of sense if you didn't watch the Ichimoku video. I apologize, but I think this is like an incredible, like this is a really good opportunity to actually go through this trade. So here you go. So here, and I don't know where we're at. What is it? 11:08. Okay, so we got like 4 more hours. But you can see that your Tenkin aggressively came up to price. Your Kijun is still angled bullishly for the time being. It hasn't flattened out yet. So your Kijun is still bullish. You have a bullish Kumo twist right here. So your cloud's bullish as well, which is really good. But look at the distance from your Tenkin and your Kijun. This is really far. So this is kind of giving you an indication like that this could potentially be oversold. So that's something you have to kind of keep in mind. So let's move forward. See what happens. So now you're below Tenkin, which isn't, it's not like a bad thing. It's just telling you to be careful. You are not taking longs here. I'll tell you that. If you miss this, you miss this entry, you miss this entry, you are not going long. Oh, and now we're current. So now that just meant that we're current. Well, look what happened. Let me exit out of here. So remember what I was saying, that this is kind of giving you the indication that we're oversold, right? Where there's, so this formed a C. I don't know if you can see it. Call it a C clamp. When you get this kind of a deviation from each other, this is the initial sign warning you of a potential mean reversion. And so far, I mean, it's actually this is a good, like a decent response here, but this is what you have to be really careful of. And this is why, so like if you missed your move, okay, if you miss your entry that was either here, your better entry would have been down here, because again, we went over this entry, the risk reward wasn't very good, right? But this is still like, this met all the criteria. If you missed this entry, this was your best entry, and it's not just because it worked out, it's a better entry because your risk reward is better, right? The thing I want to say that I think is really important is never force a trade. That's something that people, a lot of new traders, retail traders, you know, I'm a retail trader, shouldn't like say too bad about that, but like newer inexperienced people, they force trades because they want to be in trades. And that's one of the worst things that you can do. If you're really wanting to become a good trader, if you're really wanting to protect your capital, by the way, which is rule number one, literally, is protect your capital. Only take the best setups. You don't have to force your way in just to be in. This here is forcing your way into a trade, in my opinion. Just because you have the confirmation that you want to see, it doesn't necessarily mean that the entry itself is, even though it worked out, it's still not the best trade that you could have taken. This is a better trade simply because you're risking less to make more. It's a better trade. But the thing is, price from here could have just worked its way out. You might not have got that opportunity as well. But it is what it is. Like, you don't ever really want to force things just because, you know, again, oh, well, the 3 boxes checked off, I'm jumping in right now. Like, it's, you got to think ahead like that. Like, does this make sense? And certainly this is always a trade of interest though. When you get a bullish breakout like this kind of confirms to you that this is a valid move, right? So where are you wrong on this trade? This gets to be a little tougher. And this is kind of one of those things where it comes down to how, you know, I would say it, you know, it's more about your specific trading style and the amount of risk that you're willing to put forth. Technically, it would still be below cloud. That's really far away though. In this instance, you know, that's like a very obvious, no questions asked. You're wrong on that trade idea. It's not really if price came back below, like back inside of cloud. That would be a bad thing because we could just end up chopping around in cloud again until price decided, you know, like what it was going to do. But you could use Kijun as a stop loss. So like if you took this entry right here in particular, so your bullish breakout, you really wouldn't want to see price come back into cloud, let alone below Kijun, right? So like this is a possible area. There's another, you could also use fractals as a stop loss, which that's its own video. It's coming up. Just be patient with that one. I'll get into all of that as well. And before I finish here, so again, whoops, I'm kind of like, we're kind of in the potential mean reversion area, right? Like price could kind of come back down. Either that or we're going to see, you know, if you're Kijun, I'd have to like do some mental math here, but you kind of want to see your Kijun come up to meet price, then maybe trend can continue. But I mean, I can't ask you this because you can't speak to me, but one thing that I see right off the bat that's a problem is this. So if you look at your Chigu span, which remember I told you in the video is very underrated. Like there are people who use Ichimoku that like turn this off, and I never you know, again, to each their own, right? But this to me is pretty invaluable. If you see Chigu span kind of come below price here, now that you're inside of price, that's not bullish anymore, right? You need to be above price for this particular portion of Ichimoku to be bullish. If you see this come below price, that's another hint telling you, hey, like we might get that full-on mean reversion, because if Chiku span's below price, that's bearish. So then you don't have all signals kind of firing at the same time, right? In order to see their trend continue higher. So that's just something to kind of monitor. And you see, so we lost Tenkin, and price has accepted, you know, we are still below Tenkin, and it's actually resistance now. So that's also something to monitor going forward. But you're below your Tengen. You have this big deviation of price. So you're, and kind of like the one thing that I want you to remember when it comes to the relationship between your Tengen and your Kijun, you want them to be close to each other. So even when they're trending and things are really, really strong in either direction, right? Bullish or bearish, you want your Tenken and Kijun to be close together. By close, I mean like this is relatively close. This is close. This is relatively close. This is close right here. When you get the big separation like this, that means price is not in equilibrium, right? We're not even close to really being in equilibrium. Equilibrium's right here. So this is where price is, you know, like this is where you consider it to be in equilibrium. So when you have a big deviation away from your Kijun, that's usually a warning sign. Something to think about. Now, it's still bullish. Your cloud's bullish. If price does come back down to your Kijun here, this could be a trade opportunity if you missed all these others. Is it the best trade opportunity? I would say no. Like the easiest ones were kind of had. But if you do get a mean reversion here, look at where your cloud is, right? So like you'd want to look at other factors. Again, your Chiku span is probably going to be below price. So that's kind of telling you, maybe this isn't like the best setup. But your invalidation might be pretty close by. Again, like if you lose, you know, if price comes below this cloud, then you're not longing. I'll tell you that. Like if you're looking at this in particular. So does anybody have any questions? Hopefully you guys can still hear me. But does anybody have any questions before I kind of switch gears? Because I really wanted to break this chart down for you because I accidentally shared it, but I looked at it. I was like, man, this is a beautiful example of, you know, like I could literally walk you guys through my thought process on like how I would have traded this and like where your entries are. And it's very much the same, right? Ichimoku is a system. So like what I just showed you here is how you would look to trade that on any asset. Any other chart, it would be the same thinking. So I thought that was worth me spending some time to go over. So any questions? If not, I think we're gonna move on to so what else did I want to talk about? I know I want to talk about trading bots, obviously. I'll wait just a second because I think you guys are 8 seconds behind, so this is a lot longer than I wanted to. No? Okay. All right. Well, I have a person here. Hopefully he's still there. He just typed. Ribsy, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can everybody hear Ribsy okay?
Hello?
I think they can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
They should be able to hear you. So I wanted to, we've actually never done this before, have a live stream or a video where we have, you know, myself and some of the trading bot coaches on. This is something that I'd really like to do going forward because they're, you know, they've been with me pretty much since the beginning. They're very knowledgeable in what they do. And I thought it would be really cool to have Ribsy on. And he just did a video, it was on pivot tables that you did. So Ribsy, you might have to turn your volume up a little bit. And I can I'll try to mute my mic too, just in case it's like messing up our audio. But anyway, so I don't know if you want to kind of talk about bots in general, like you have some stuff that you want to share, talk about things that you've seen.
Yep. I'm not sure you can hear me. Let me just start anyway. Okay. I'm glad to have everyone here. Thanks for being VIPs and supporting TradingView. Basically, is helping adding on the FAQ just for you know, the VIPs. We also be covering coaching. I'll be doing a few more extra private videos. What else is there? Yeah, that's it basically. We have 3 coaches. You know, we've all very knowledgeable bots. So if anyone needs coaching, we can supply that as well. We can help with that. Can people still hear me?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit, just a little muffled, somebody said, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it's a
it's,
problem with that.
we'll do the best that we can do for now. Work on that later.
Okay. Yeah, basically, this is the first live session with me to trade out. You could probably see, the amount of knowledge trade outs has. I mean, I've done a few sessions with him. All the admins and the coaches have done a few sessions with him, and the amount of experience and knowledge he's given to us, is really, really good. So, I hope everyone actually agrees with that. And going forward, about the future of the VIPs, the Discord. I think at the moment we're using YouTube to chat, but we have to discuss this, and in the future we will probably be planning to use Discord chat. Because it allows people, others to talk as well. So we can ask people can ask questions, and traders can. It basically be more like a little community where we can have a little group chat. That's what I've got to say for now. Back to trade outs.
All right. So if you guys have questions, all right, please feel free to type them in the chat and ask, and I'm happy to cover it. So I will do something really quickly, because I know somebody asked me about Matic. Somebody asked me if like how Matic looked, and I'll tell you right now, you're literally sitting on support. You're sitting on a really important weekly level. I don't even need to do any more analysis to know like this is a really critical level that you want to see. You want to see Matic hold. Otherwise, you're going to kind of drop into this 70 to 90 cent region, like this little range that got put in here before this really explosive move to the upside. You're going to kind of drop back in, and you see this wick. So this initial wick that came down into this zone, which, by the way, to give you a little bit of a hint, in case like Bitcoin breaks to the downside and we lose the range, Bitcoin breaks to the downside, this is kind of what I'm looking at. So if you go to the Bitcoin chart, find the previous range that we're in, like this is it's the same thing. So I will go over this in that video when it comes, but this is along the lines of what I think could happen. But anyway, with Matic, you're sitting on like really important support. Probably Ichimoku's. I don't think it's really going to tell you a whole lot. Nope, not really. This isn't, and this isn't. I'm just going to delete everything. This isn't very helpful, just so you know. So like, when you're looking at Ichimoku, this isn't super helpful. Obviously, you're bearish. Cloud is still bullish. It's very thin though. It's very thin. You have, like this just isn't, I wouldn't go off of Ichimoku, like to give you an example, I guess you could say, like this is not helpful at all to me in its present state. Now back here, sure. Like you could have probably gotten some better entries here, but this is not helpful. So when you see these really huge price swings like that, and then, for me, I'm much more interested in the horizontal levels that you saw before. I get much better trading results out of that than like Ichimoku is not always perfectly helpful. I'll just say. Let's see here. So, I mean, what do you guys want to cover next? So I have some ideas about trading bots that I can speak about. But if there's something in particular you guys would like to have covered, I would like to do that right now. If there's a chart you want to see, if there's a chart that you want me in particular to, draw some levels on, or to, you guys have a question about Ichimoku, since we've kind of been covering that a bit. If there's anything that you guys would like to cover, just ask in chat. I'll wait just a second. Oh man. Yeah, Travis, that's coming. I'll tell you what. I'll do this on Matic, because Matic is there a chart that you would like to see this done on? So Travis, that is literally that video I'm going to record this weekend. So I'm going to do my best to get that recorded, because that is a very important video, and it's something that I've been saving for VIPs. Like that's something that it's very important. So, but if there's a specific chart that you want to see, how I come up with those levels, I can do it for you right now and kind of give you an idea. But the thorough tutorial is coming very soon though. So I'll wait just a second. If not, I can do it on Matic. ETH. Okay. Let me do a clean chart because I already have my ETH levels mapped out. I don't want to cheat. I haven't looked at ETH in a little bit, so. Let's look at Ethereum on Bybit. That's what I trade on. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I mean, geez, I don't know how basically I'm going to get my levels, right? So my monthly levels, my weekly levels, my daily levels, like to kind of gauge an idea of where we're at. So I'll just show this for fun, but this is really ugly. This is your quarterly chart, okay? This is pretty ugly. That is a really nasty wig. I do think that there's a pretty good chance that, I do think there's a pretty good chance that we actually come backfill some of this wick. So it wouldn't surprise me at all, like especially if Bitcoin breaks the range up to the upside. I do think like we're gonna, we could come backfill part of this wick. Certainly this quarter. I think that's plenty. It's more than enough time. But it would be incredibly nasty to have a wick like this and just move to the downside. So like I do think at least coming back in and filling some of this price action, I think that's very likely on the books. Now, so I'll just give you a quick instance or quick, I don't draw quarterly levels typically on, I don't really draw quarterly levels too much on anything that's not Bitcoin when it comes to crypto, because it's kind of not to say it's useless, but it's too big of a time frame to have a valid level, but for Bitcoin, definitely, it has enough price action history. Like if you look at the BLX chart, you could chart quarterlies on there, and there's actually some that are pretty relevant if I remember correctly. But so I usually start off on the monthly. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to do Bybit because this is a bad example because there's not enough price action history. I will do the Coinbase chart. There we go. We got some more history here. So I'm not, not everything is relevant. And this, by the way, when you're drawing your levels, your magnet tool is incredibly invaluable. So I would definitely be using that. That way you get precise levels. But I'll just do a few. And again, in the video, I'm going to walk you through exactly why I picked these particular levels. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of go through it. You can get an idea, essentially, like how I come up with those levels anyway, just by looking at it. Some of these levels are really irrelevant, though. Like, who cares about $360 ETH when you're at 2,200? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to really worry. You actually don't even need to really bother too much. I think this $1,100 relevant. Because like if we do see a break to the downside on Bitcoin, like you're crazy if you don't think you can have $1,000 ETH again. It's very likely actually that's gonna happen. If Bitcoin loses this range, I think $1,100 could come back into play as an important level. So those are really like the two, these are the few monthly levels that I think are important on this chart. Then I go down to a weekly, okay? So here are my weekly levels. Technically have a weekly level here. I mean, this has been an important level, this $2,100 level. So 1422 to the downside, that's important. This one's also pretty important right here. So this is on Coinbase, it's 1686. And you can see, I mean, we came down very, very, very closely to this. And then this is damn near like perfect touch. You're like really close. So this it's basically, let's call it $1,700, but this weekly here is very important so far. So there's been, you've had two pretty nice reactions off of this level. This one's definitely something to keep in mind to the downside. Like this is a really important support. And then as far as like these levels go, it's very much like level to level. You lose this, you look here, you lose this, you know, that's kind of how you would trade level to level. And then, so like you have a monthly level here at 27.76. You technically do, like this is a weekly, but then you look at your chart and you can kind of see like how, if I were to put every single level on here, right? Like your chart gets very messy very quickly. So I'll leave that on there for now. But what I do, and again, I promise I'll cover this in the video, I actually go back and delete levels that I think aren't that important. So like if you look at this on a daily time frame, this $2,100 level is pretty important. So if you look at the candle closes, right? I mean, just look at this price action. You come down to your weekly, you bounce off, you actually break back through. So before you were back testing here, okay? So you look at these levels, look at these closes, come back up, test it again, lose it, go down to your next support, and then now you're using your $2,100 level as a support, which if you go back to my levels, that I've shared in the TA room like last week or whatever, that's why 2100 was such an important level. So that's essentially the level. So let me, setting SR and POC levels. So that's what you want to do. So essentially, so here's a really good one. Okay. So I'll tell you, like, you can actually get decent trades in if you know that these levels exist. Okay, so here's a tip that I'll give you when you're looking at your support resistance levels. When you're at the high like this, okay, and this is something that you're going to see a lot when you're charting. So when you have a level confirmed, which is basically, you see how the candle closes are right next to each other, and I'm going to go into huge detail in the video. What happens, like fair amount of times, you get your close, price moves down, right? And as they're closing down here. So price is moving away from this level that was created on May 12th. But what happens is on May 14th, what happens to, where did you get the rejection from, right? Went all the way back up to where? Oh, perfect touch of your daily level here. So this happens quite often. So if you're doing your charts and you notice that a daily level just forms, and it's really, you know, this works on multiple time frames, but I've noticed like dailies are really good at it, is that you'll get this level forming, price will move away from it either direction and then come back to it to like test this level right here. Before, I mean, you're not going to get some crazy flush to the downside every time that happens, but a lot of times when you get your levels just that just confirm, oftentimes when you come back to test it, that's like these end up being potentially good trades. So it's something to think about, something to kind of monitor as you go through. So after I do the tutorial and you know, you're doing these to your own charts, you can kind of go back and you're going to see this instance quite a bit where price comes back to a certain level that just formed before it makes, you know, before it has the bigger move to the downside or the upside. So, I mean, this is kind of the levels that, these are the support and resistance levels that I have here. Obviously, like, you know, there's a few others. I don't want to make too many different ones, but these are kind of how, like, when I'm giving you guys levels and I'm looking at how, like, and so I'll tell you for Ethereum, the thing that makes it a little bit difficult is that you have to really be paying attention to the Bitcoin pairing as well. So that's what, like, I speak a lot about Bitcoin. Like the majority of my trading examples are Bitcoin because Bitcoin in itself is, I mean, I don't want to say like it's easy to trade, but it's more clear to me, at least. Like trading Bitcoin is something that is, you know, it's easier for me. But when you're trading like any altcoin, you have to be really aware of what's happening with the Bitcoin pairing, because it's gonna, like, Bitcoin, whatever Bitcoin does is gonna affect what alts do in general. It just does. If Bitcoin crashes 20% a day, I don't think that there's gonna be you know, anything that is standing up to, like, nothing's just gonna nothing's gonna move against it. I'll say that's very, very rarely. So that's kind of why like you got to really, really pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing overall, because the entire rest of the market for the most part is pretty tied into what Bitcoin's doing. So, but anyway, these are how you get your levels. Obviously, like I didn't go through in super detail about how you do it. It's basically, I mean, you can look at it. It's basically closures when you get candle bodies like this. But this is the levels that you know, as far as the local levels to pay attention to. So right now you're above 2100. So the next, I mean, you do have a daily, you do have a daily technically here, which I should make this clear. So, I mean, 2582, you do have a daily there, but higher time frames always supersede lower time frame levels. So weekly is better than a daily. Like it's more like it's definitely stands out more to me than a daily does. A monthly level, really important. I'll show you an example of that actually, because this, and you'll probably see this in the video, but this literally like sticks out to me why knowing where your support or resistance levels are so important. So if I go to the BitMEX chart, because I was trading on BitMEX at this time when this happened. So here's your BitMEX chart. Probably be better on a weekly. Wow, it's crazy to look at it like that. So actually, so you got to go, because this is a monthly. So if you go to BitMEX, I'm going to put this monthly on, and you're going to see right away what I'm talking about. That's a really important monthly level, right? So this monthly was made in 2018. So this was your December, and then January of 2018. This is what made this monthly level, okay? Try to zoom in for you. There you go. So there's your monthly level. And what happened? Pushed all the way down to $3,000. And where did you reject from? Your monthly level. Almost perfectly, right? Before price pushed back down all the way back to what, 30... This was your coronavirus crash right here, but down to what, 3,500, something like that. Now, and this was like back, I had a trading group that I kind of ran with. It wasn't like a trading group, but it was, I think we had about 15 other traders in there. We were sharing ideas with each other, not like talking, you know, like we kind of traded with each other. It was a lot of fun. But just nailed this top, and I'll tell you why. So like, this is getting a bit, not that it's getting more advanced, because I've shared a lot of this analysis type stuff in previous videos. If you just watch some of my YouTube videos, I talk about this stuff all the time. But I really like to look for confluence. These SR levels, they're not necessarily strong enough. They're not strong enough on their own for me to take trades off it. Just because this monthly level was here, right? This isn't enough for me to just say, hey, I'm shorting this monthly level if it's retested. It's not good enough. There needs to be other indicators. Like there needs to be other, other things telling me, hey, like this is a valid level for this, I do think, it needs to give added strength, I guess you could say. Look at that. So not only was this monthly level a really critical, really big, and this is at this, and the reason why this was such an important level, first of all, is because the price hasn't revisited this level since this level was made. So that's one thing to always keep in mind as well. This is an untouched monthly. Price moved very far away, never came back to retest this once, right? So once it's confirmed, you get your next open here and like literally, I mean, you're just down, right? But this fib retracement that I took was literally the all-time high, 20,000 top, all-time high, critical massive level, right? all the way down to your low, your 30, your basically your $3,000 low. This is a macro, like this is a fib retracement on a macro level. It's incredibly powerful. So you had your golden pocket, which when we get to the Fibonacci modules, you'll understand why this is such an important zone. But it literally came right up to your monthly. So you had your monthly inside of this macro golden pocket. Huge, massive reason to take a short here. Absolutely massive. So I'll tell you, like, did I take this short? Absolutely I did. But to be honest with you, I closed way too early. I didn't ride it all the way down or anything. I think I ended up taking profit. I think I took some profit off at like 11,000. And then like I caught, I was out of this short. I think I was out of this short. It was way too early. I'm not gonna lie. But like I was very proud of myself for catching this, but I didn't, I could have obviously held onto it for quite a bit longer, but that was yeah. So that is kind of the explanation. So like this, again, this is why these SR levels are so important, but it's not just the support resistance levels that you need to know how to do, or like that you should know, like how these horizontal levels work, but you really want to have other reasons telling you that those levels are strong levels. You don't just draw, I could draw just like the ETH chart. I could go back and, you see how many levels there are, but it's, what else do those levels have? Like what else, like is there other reasons, whether it be pivots? You see that I use pivots quite extensively in my analysis. So are there pivots, weekly pivots, daily pivots that are in that region or on that level that's giving you, other support, saying, yeah, that level is really important. So I know I didn't answer your question probably as best as you would like me to answer it, but I also have like this really like in-depth video that's coming out that will answer your questions. So one thing that you can do is you're asking about the PLC levels. So that's something that, again, is its own deal, right? But I'll tell you how I get these levels really quickly on an altcoin chart, because I think it's really easy. So Cello, somebody said Cello. So let's look at Cello really fast. So obviously new chart, not much going on, but go to a weekly. I don't even need to do that. It's pretty new. So how you get your value area levels, and I do this for every chart that I chart, just so you know, every altcoin chart that you're ever going to see, when you see the macro point of control, macro value area high, macro value area low, this is how I get it. So you're going to see it right now. I just use fixed range just because it's easier for me, and I literally pull the entire chart. So the fixed range tool, okay, I'll delete that one more time. I just have it up here. So you literally, whoops, and I just messed it up. But anyway, you start all the way from the very beginning of the chart, and then you pull it all the way to current price right here. And what this is going to do is it's going to help identify your value areas for this particular asset, okay? And the bars that are highlighted, so you come to the very last one that's highlighted. What this is your macro value area high. Now, it's hard for me to say, like, I just used the phrase macro because this is literally everything that you can see in this chart. But Cello's actually, I mean, it's only been trading for 7 months. It's pretty new asset. So it's not something that I would, I would necessarily like call this a macro area. I guess you would, but it's not, it's like big, a level like this on Bitcoin or Ethereum is going to be much, much better to know. Or stocks. By the way, these all, what I'm teaching here is very much applicable to trading traditional markets as well. Like I trade traditional markets the same style that I trade this at. Like I trade crypto. So here's your value area low, your value area high, and your point of control is already highlighted for you. I just put a line there and then you just delete it. So what this does is it kind of gives you a good benchmark for where price is in relation to these levels, okay? So macro value area low, historically speaking, which again is only 7 months of price action, so that's not very much. But historically speaking, when price is around your value area low, that's where you'll be looking for longs. That's just like where you're not really wanting to short the value area low ever, right? Point of control, this, so like if you're long from the value area low, point of control is always one of those, you know, first initial take profits you should probably look at, because of what the point of control is. This is where the most business has been done out of this entire chart, right? Then your value area high, this is where things start to, it's not that they, you know, get frothy or whatever. It's just telling you like that as far as the volume goes for whatever you're measuring, this is kind of where like a good area is to take some profit off. Or if you manage to push above value area high, then, you know, you could be in line for continuation to the upside, essentially. Like this is just an area to be aware of. This isn't necessarily something that, like, I don't necessarily trade these levels, you know, like on their own. This is one of those levels where it's very much confluence. So if there's another weekly level, if there's a monthly level that's lining up, which, I mean, we can take a look at that really fast. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, I don't know. There's your monthly. This is kind of forming. So you don't have any other monthlies that are forming, except this is, we're literally on the third day of the month. So this isn't even worth talking about, but that could be one. So here's an example of something to think, like, to look at. So you do have a weekly level here, and now it kind of messes it up. That's why I don't always like to put these all on the chart, but you do have a weekly level. So like if you look at your value area low and you look at where your candle's closed, right? Like it's sitting right on the value area low as far as your candle closed. But if you were to get a move, you know, back down to this area, now, you know, you have a new weekly level that hasn't been touched yet. Your macro value area low is literally sitting right on this. So this is two things telling you that this is an important, like this is becoming, like it's building its case for giving you a reason to take the, you know, to look for a position around here just in case like price does make its way back, right? So this is you kind of like being able to plan ahead, saying, hey, like this is a potential area of interest. You can look at daily time frame, see what's going on. So like this is an area around 430, you know, 440 or so. If price makes its way back up, you're probably gonna have a little bit of resistance here. You can look at your pivots. So I guess I don't have my pivots on here, but like that's kind of how you start to build your case, right? I feel like I'm kind of getting into way more detail than I probably should be for the first stream, but that's literally like how you start looking for confluence at these levels. So curious if charting meme coins makes any sense. I mean, everything can be charted, right? But I'll tell you, something that's so new like that, I would say it's not, I would put a lot less weight on what the chart says, if that makes sense. Like you don't really want to be charting something that, has like a couple months of price action really, or like a month, you know, like you'll see some people charting that. And it's not that it doesn't work. I just put less weight because there's not enough historical price action for you to make a really good judgment on what's going to happen, if that makes sense. Like there's less to go off of. So I feel like the analysis, it just holds less weight in general, but it doesn't mean, so like, you know, if you were to draw a daily level on here, does that mean it's not going to work? No, like it probably, you know, like again, if there's confluence for that reason, like, yeah, it probably, like, it's fine. It's just you're not going to be able to do any really meaningful like analysis behind it, I guess. So like it's yes, so it's like a yes and no. Travis, looking forward to the next video. Thank you. So, I mean, I spent time talking about Bitcoin, where we're at. You know, I guess I didn't really talk a whole lot about trading bots. How long am I in this stream, by the way? I feel like it's just been an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, well, that's, you know, I don't really have like a time frame about how long I you know, probably keep it to an hour or so. But is there anything in particular with trading bots that anybody has a question on that I can answer before I get off? Because I did say I was going to talk about trading bots, so I feel like I need to spend some time about it because I'm sure people have questions. I'll tell you the nice thing about it, about being like you got, which by the way, like I just want to say thank you to everybody who's here that is part of VIP, because it's like it's a pretty cool feeling, you know, like that. It's a cool feeling for me that people think enough to want to be able to A, hear what I have to say, and B, learn something from kind of what I've been doing in Discord and my videos and all that. So I think that's really neat, by the way. So I want to thank you for that. But yeah, if there's anything in particular when it comes to trading bots, like I'll tell you again, like I spent some time in the beginning talking about Bitcoin, and I think that kind of nails it, as far as what I think we're in a range. The settings that kind of became the trade alt settings, right? It's kind of funny just because I talk about those in a video, then like they're magically like the only settings that I use. Right? But I think, I think that my message around, I think like if I had to say anything important, it's basically, I said it in Discord in that long kind of post that I shared this morning. It's just being careful not to overextend yourself and get careless, just because and I would say like just getting careless because the volatility has been lower and people are trying to really maximize the return on what they're putting into the bots, right? But man, if you get caught on the wrong side of that, like we did in May, it's something that you just want to be mindful of. Like this is, and I know like everybody's in bots for a different reason, and it's really important for you to understand what your specific goals are and why you're doing bots, because they're different than why I'm doing bots. I promise you that. Like everybody has different expectations for what they're trying to accomplish, right? Like I've said this, like it hasn't changed for me at all. I run bots because I just like for them to be passive, and they're basically up to May. They've been helping me build, not that I need help building them, but like they just add like the specific altcoins that I was trading. It was just, I was taking profit in the alts. I was letting them build the bags. Since May, so I'm running, I think 20 bots right now. And I think with the exception of 2 or 3 of them, they've all been taking profit in USD, by the way. So that is a change that I don't think not many people know. But I have been taking profit in USD just because I'd rather be building, like if the bots are going to be running, doing their thing, I'd rather be making, profit in dollars, just because of the way that the market has been, right? If we do end up breaking to the downside, then you're kind of, if you're taking profit in altcoins, you're losing USD value. You know what I'm saying? So like when things are good and the market's trending upward, I want to be exposed to everything that's potentially like, helping me build the USD value of my portfolio. But if the market's down to trending sideways, you got to be really mindful about like what you're taking profit in. Again, unless you have to decide for yourself why you're here, why you're doing it. Unless you really don't care about that and you're just trying to build your bags. So like that's, it's in your profitability is going to look different than other people's. And I think it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for people to compare their profitability to other people's, because again, like it's, unless you guys have the same goal, then that's different. But you just have to be thinking like, why are you doing this? And like, whatever your strategy is for yourself, it has to like make you happy. It has to be something that like you see value in doing. Otherwise, you kind of get caught up in it's kind of like a race, right? Everybody's trying to like outperform everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's about like making sure that you're getting what you need out of the bot. So James says your Bitcoin and Ethereum settings, and why are they different? So they're different because they're actually leveraged. So like my Bitcoin and Ethereum settings there, I'm not trading spot. You can trade spot. I was trading both of those. I was actually trading spot for a while on the run up, but my Bitcoin and Ethereum settings they're leverage bots. So they're different. And I can go over like, I don't mind. It's tough to be like, I obviously for the VIPs, I'm happy to share those. I think that's like its own video though. But what's different about that is that I manage those bots every day. So that's like, I don't recommend having the type of like the Bitcoin and Ethereum bots that I'm running, because if you're not kind of aware of what, like, picking up signals like if the market is gonna shift, you can get in a lot of trouble. And the Bitcoin and Ethereum bots that I'm testing right now, I'm actually running shorts and longs. So I have them actually running simultaneously on different accounts. But the short bot I'm testing out, and this isn't like, again, it's more for me. It's not necessarily something that I'm going to be like, oh, you need to do this. But like one of the things that I'm doing is I'm actually looking at, like with my short bots, I'm basically looking at hedging. It's essentially like hedging that small amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum that's there. And I'm kind of just watching it, see how it goes. So it's like a test, right? The thing that I love about Bybit, and like I'm trading, and the way that I'm trading on Bybit is that I'm using Bitcoin and Ethereum to gain more Bitcoin and Ethereum. So there was like this whole argument, okay? There was this whole argument a few months ago before the crash of, well, wouldn't it just be better to buy and hold? Well, A, you have to know that price is going to continue higher. The people who are saying, oh, is it, the bot's going to outperform buy and hold, well, ask me the question again now. And what just happened? Right? Like we just had this massive pullback in the market. It's like, unless you are able to, like, unless you're really managing your positions effectively, right, and you're taking profit at the top, like the bots, and again, they're very much passive. That's why I like the bots kind of doing what they're doing. But so back to the Bitcoin and Ethereum bots, I'm running them on Bybit. And the beauty of it is that I am literally like, I don't care about what my bots are doing in particular. Like as far as, I'm not like super worried about that amount of capital that I have allocated towards them. But what those bots are doing and what I've been kind of monitoring is, again, I use Bitcoin and Ethereum to trade to earn more Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if the price of Bitcoin goes up to 50,000, guess what? Like my Bitcoin value is also moving up with it. So I'm not using USD to trade against, if that makes sense. So I'm not like I'm very much using the bot as a way to, as a way to continue to build my Bitcoin and Ethereum bags to that degree, that like the amount of capital that I have allocated towards it. But it's also being measured in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So assuming you don't get liquidated or like market sell because you panic or something like that, theoretically your stack should grow, right? But it's also going to move with the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if Ethereum crashes or moves down $1,000, then naturally like your bag of Ethereum or your capital that you have allocated towards those specific bots are going to fall down with it versus USD. But a lot of people don't care about that. If you're a long, if you think like Ethereum is going to 10,000, you think Bitcoin's going to 100 or 200 or some crazy, like 500,000, like a lot of people don't really care about worrying about the fluctuations of your USD value today. That was a long explanation, by the way. So short story, I'll share the Bitcoin and Ethereum settings, but you're right, like they're different because of everything that I just explained. And I would be incredibly cautious of people wanting to run those types of bots because you have to be really comfortable managing your positions day to day, essentially. And like, being able to, like, if we see, if we're feeling a big shift in what's coming, you can't just let your, if you're using 3x leverage or 5x, 3x's, I mean, even still, like that's pretty high. If you're using 5x, or I know for a fact because somebody actually DM'd me, I think like a month ago, asking me why they got liquidated because they were using 50x leverage and they didn't understand like how their bot got liquidated. So that's what worries me, is like, I don't want people to lose money. But if you do want to see those settings, I'm happy, like I'll do a video about it, happy to share it. That's just why I'm like, they're different because it's not spot, I guess you could say. That was a long explanation. Does anybody else have anything? It's going on an hour and a half now. Just totally fine. I love doing this. A lot of fun doing it. I think a few things that you can do with your bots, which some people have been discussing in like the bot hangout, is using higher take profit percentages. So if you're in a range like this, and like you're looking to capture as much upside potential as you can with your bots, I think upping your take profit is totally fine to do. And I have done that on some of my bots. The settings are different though, but I have some bots that are 3% take profit. With my Bitcoin and Ethereum bots, I will say, so like if you get quite a few, if I get quite a few safety orders filled, I will manually adjust those according to, I do use like technical analysis to kind of help me maximize those. So like that's kind of something like I really don't like micromanaging my bots, kind of like I said, because, like typically when I see a good setup, like with Bitcoin, I just take the trade. Like I trade it. I don't need a bot to trade it for me. But I'm trying to make sure that I'm, kind of maximizing my bots so that I can be as helpful to you all as I can be, I guess you could say. But I prefer just to trade. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up here. Let me look at Discord, by the way. Is anybody writing anything in Discord? No. So I think that's it. Nobody has any other questions. I do want to say this. First of all, again, welcome. I really appreciate everybody being here. And I'm excited to move forward with everybody. And if you guys have any questions about anything, especially in this video, definitely, tag me in Discord. Feel free, tag me, ask me questions. I'm totally fine answering questions, giving examples. If you guys have a chart that you're kind of wondering about, if there's a particular chart that you're like, hey, or like you're checking your levels versus mine, totally happy to do that. So if you have questions about that, happy to do it. And then, with the support and resistance, I know I kind of just rushed through it. I didn't really explain things, but because I have a whole video dedicated to that, so I didn't want to like halfway explain things here and then do you know what I'm saying? I just want to kind of save it for the video because I think you'll really understand it once the video comes out. And I'll do a much better job when I'm just focused on doing that. A video on different start conditions. Okay. So I know that's something like people have asked about. That's something that I can definitely talk about. Any other questions? If there's something that you think of after the live stream, tag me in Discord and ask me, and I'm happy to take a look. I'm probably going to be around for another 6 hours or so today, 5 or 6, maybe 5 hours. But again, really fun first live stream. I will tell you this, so we might do a test, and you can tell me in Discord if you think this would be a good idea or not. While the group is small, what we might try to do is actually, instead of do the stream on YouTube, we might try it in Discord. I'm not convinced it's going to come out okay. And as far as recording things on my end for people who aren't able to attend, but we could do a little pilot test run if you guys think that would be worthwhile. We can actually try to do it. I can share my screen in Discord, and then you guys can actually talk to me. So instead of just waiting for me to try to read any questions that come out, we could actually have a bit of discussion around that. So if that's something that you guys would like to try, we can give it a shot. I'm not sure it's going to work, but we can try and at least check it out. So I think that's everything then. Doesn't look like anybody has any other questions. I hope you guys found this video useful. Again, kind of went over a lot as far as Bitcoin. We talked about Ichimoku. We talked a little bit about trading bots. I'm sure that I missed something that I wanted to talk about, but this is literally video 1. So I did a VIP only video last night. This is literally the first live stream. We got plenty more ahead of us. So if you can think of something, we can definitely cover it in the next video. That being said, you guys all have a wonderful day. I'll see you in Discord.